This is Jeb Blount, and it's Money Monday on the Sales Gravy podcast.
Say make money, money, make money, money, money. Make money, money, make money, money, money. Money makes the world go round. I'm the talk around town. Remy gave me the sound.
Welcome back to the Sales Gravy podcast. I'm Jeb Blount Jr., and it's Money Monday. So I'm sitting in for Jeb Blount, and I want to tell you a fact about myself. I spend my weekends on an ice rink, even though I have never been a competitive ice skater, ever. Before we dive into the lesson, though, I want to ask you a question. What was the last time that you were truly embarrassingly bad at something? Like the kind of bad that you got to look over your shoulder and see if anyone actually saw that kind of bad. Most of us in the sales world spend our entire lives trying to be an expert. We want to be the person with all the answers, the one who closes the big deals, and the one who has arrived. But today, I want to talk to you about the danger of arriving. I want to talk to you about examining your own ego, and I want you to find a hobby that makes you look like a complete idiot. Today's lesson is you got to have fun. To understand why I'm standing on a freezing ice rink at 5 a.m. on Saturday mornings, it's best we go back and look at who I used to be. Like a lot of kids, I grew up defined by the jersey I was wearing. I played baseball, soccer, basketball, football. If there was a ball and if there was a scorekeeper, like I was on the field. By high school, I was a four-sport athlete. I was the guy on the state championship track team running the sprints. I was an MVP of our baseball team. I even did the spring musical because why not? It's not like I had anything else going on. Competition was my identity. And when I got to college, I took that fire to a Division III track team and I found my niche in pole vaulting. There's a specific kind of rush you get when you're actually suspended 15 feet in the air upside down, held up by just a carbon fiber pole and waiting for the momentum to launch you over the bar. But the funny thing about gravity is that gravity always wins. Always. And during my freshman season, I took a really massive fall. I landed straight on the top part of my back, right below where your neck is. In between that injury and years of redlining my body, my lower legs and my back gave out. I was a guy who I really defined myself by how fast I was, and then I was struggling to even walk to class. The competitive fire went out. I stopped competing. I started building Legos and I started reading books. I was a political science major. I studied economics. I played guitar. And look, none of that's bad. I love all of those things. And in fact, I still do a lot of those things. But for nearly a decade, that competitive Jeb was a ghost. I was doing my job in sales. And in the beginning, I was a little bit more excited about all of the learning that I was doing and getting better. And I was really good at sales. I had been doing it since I was about 16 years old. But at some point, I started coasting on the talent that I developed over the years. I wasn't actually growing. I was just there. And the dangerous thing about coasting is that it doesn't feel like failure. Failure is loud. It gets your attention. Failure feels bad, but coasting is kind of quiet. It looks like competence from the outside, and it feels fine on the inside. Nobody's calling you out. But somewhere underneath all of it, you know that you're not sharpening anything. You're spending down the balance of the skills that you've already built. So fast forward a few years, I'm 28. I'm married to my wife, Ashley, who is, I want to note this. She is an incredible, phenomenal figure skater. She's been figure skating for over 20 years. She's a senior level skater. She's incredible. When she's on the ice, the blade and her foot are like the same thing. It's effortless. And every Saturday for the last couple of years, I was the rink dad, sitting in the stands with a lukewarm cup of coffee, shivering, watching Ashley and my daughter, who is also a figure skater, train. And one morning, that old athlete woke up and whispered, "I hate sitting here. I hate feeling useless." So I told Ashley, I said, "I want to get out there. I want to get some skates." And she looked at me the way that wives look at husbands when they know exactly what's going to happen. She said, "All right, I'll get you skates, but you have to promise me this. I'm going to sign you up for a competition in August over Labor Day, and you're going to go compete." In my head, I'm still that state championship track athlete, running the 100-meter, 200-meter, 400-meter relays, the pole vault, long jump. I was doing all of the events. I felt like I was still that guy. And I was like, man, I have 28 in decent shape. How hard can this be? It's just, sliding around on skates. So the first time I stepped onto the rink, I had a lot of confidence going in, but immediately I didn't look like an athlete. I looked like a newborn giraffe on roller skates, and I was surrounded by 6-year-olds in frilly dresses and hair bows who were literally skating circles around me. I fell 3 times before I even finished one lap. I could hear the kids snickering. Look, I'm a grown man. I am a respected professional. I have done world-class interviews with world-class thought leaders, but I was by far the worst person in that room by like a lot. I spent an entire hour on the struggle bus. I was so sore. And when I finally crawled off the ice, my ankles screaming at me, my pride was bruised. I was embarrassed, but weirdly, I was kind of at peace. So why was I at peace? I had to think about this a lot. It took a lot of contemplation because, look, for the first time in 10 years, I really had nowhere to go but up. And that was really nice. In sales, in our jobs, we can fall into what I would call the expert trap. Think about your own career. You've been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You know all the scripts. You've seen the objections. You've hit your quota. You've missed your quota. And you start to think, I've seen it all. A few years ago, I was sitting in a room with Jeb Sr. and a few of our senior trainers, and we were talking about the students who show up to sales training with their arms crossed. They sit in the back of the room and they look at us like we are wasting their time. And back then, I remember I was really frustrated with those students. I thought, and I probably even asked out loud, like, why would you be so closed off to new ideas? But laying on the ice, looking up at the ceiling with 6-year-olds skating all around me, I realized that somehow I had become that student. I wasn't closed to new ideas necessarily, but I really just wasn't convinced that there were any new ideas left for me. I thought that what I was doing was tweaking a finished product, dialing in my performance. I was pretty arrogant, and arrogance is kind of sneaky in this way. It doesn't look like a big ego. Sometimes it looks like boredom or just learning by osmosis. I figured that I would get better by being around the game, but the ice doesn't care about your resume. The ice obviously didn't care that I'd recorded nearly 100 episodes of the podcast last year. Because if your center of gravity is off, you're just going to go down. And I think that's actually the gift of picking up something brand new as an adult, because there's no previous relationship or reputation that you can coast on. You don't get to hide behind, I've been doing this for years. You either learn or you don't, and the ice will tell you the truth immediately. When you're skilled enough to explain away your failures as a fluke, you might fall into the trap of depriving yourself of honest feedback. Lost a deal, and it's the wrong fit. If you didn't get that appointment, that prospect wasn't really ready to have a conversation anyway. Rationalizing any negative outcome or skill gap can make it easy to avoid confronting your potential shortcomings. The beginner doesn't have that luxury, because when a 6-year-old laps you, there's no spin on that. You just have to get better. And because I was a beginner again in skating, my brain, it started to rewire itself, especially when it came to my career. I started looking at my calls, the way that I looked at my skating posture. I started listening to my colleagues with more curiosity instead of thinking like, I already know what you're going to say. I started treating every podcast interview that I was having as a lesson for me and not just content for you. I started seeking the 1% better every day again. And since I checked my ego at the gate, everything changed. Because of this competition in August, my whole life is a little bit structured again. I'm looking into our grocery list. I'm looking at proteins and carbs. Like, I don't want to just look good. I'm trying to actually fuel a better athlete. Got back in the gym. I'm stretching at home. I'm sleeping more. And the punchline to this is I've closed more deals at a higher value this quarter than I did the quarter before. I was thinking about why. And honestly, the reason why is because I'm having fun again. When you're a beginner, every small win feels like a miracle. The first time I went through my right foot crossover without falling completely on my face, I felt like I'd won the Super Bowl. And I remember like skating right over to Ashley with the excitement of a 10-year-old me who had turned his first double play in a Little League game. The feeling of progress is so addictive. And when you bring that progress mindset back to the office on Monday morning, you can stop obsessing over the commission check and start falling in love with craft. So I didn't want to keep staring at my quota. I was actually really excited about learning the process, asking questions like, how did that discovery call go? Did I stick the landing on that objection? I mean, did I skate through this negotiation with grace, or was I clumsy in getting through it? Look, the outcome, the deal that you close, is simply a point on a scoreboard. But the process, the art of learning your craft is the game. And I love the game again. So my message to you on this Monday morning is if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're coasting, or if you've lost the love of the sales process, go find something that humbles you. Find a hobby where you're the absolute worst person in the room. Take that pottery class, learn jujitsu, join a community theater, put on a pair of skates, and try not to fall in front of a bunch of 7-year-olds. And when you're at the very bottom of a skill, you're forced to have beginner's mind. You have to listen. You have to be patient, and you have to have grace for yourself because there's no other choice. Take that humility and the hunger for gaining 1% every day and bring it with you to work. If you only compete, if you only put yourself in competitive situations in your sales role from 9 to 5, just simply aren't giving yourself enough at-bats, and you're probably not having as much fun as you could in competition. So check your ego at the gate, fall down, get up, and I promise you, your sales career will start to glide in ways that you never thought possible. I'm Jeb Blount Jr., and go get 1% better today. I'll catch you next time on the Sales Gravy Podcast.
Survival of the fittest, you can sink or swim. I've been broke, I ain't never going back again.
Hey, I'm doing a happy dance because you watched this video. Make sure that you click likes and subscribe so that you never miss one of our amazing sales training videos.